morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of our coverage of ZIMZAM, and we have just witnessed the first panel discussion, which was moderated by Mr. Patrick Mawere of 𝙘𝙨𝙨𝙚. Mr. Patrick, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you, Kenneth?
I'm fine. It's so wonderful to bump into you at ZIMZAM, but today is obviously day 2. Are you able to just give us an overview of your panel discussion and what the key focus areas were?
Yeah, so my panel was focused on the pipeline for projects, both renewable and hydro. Obviously, we know hydro is renewable, but in terms of wind, solar, and a few thermal ones. But also in terms of the ambitions of both countries for rural electrification. So we had 𝙬𝙧𝙞𝙨, Zambia, and 𝙬𝙧𝙞𝙨, Zimbabwe, highlighting some of their ambitions towards universal access. We know that's important. Economic development opportunities largely hinge on access to electricity. So that was the highlight of the panel. A lot of conversation around some of the projects in the pipeline, what is required to conclude, some of the regulatory changes that we need for them to come to conclusion.
Absolutely. Now, on day 1, we obviously witnessed, speeches from the Vice President of Zimbabwe, our Minister of Energy, and the Minister of Energy of Zimbabwe as well. How important is obviously the fiscal side in terms of, seeing through, some of the commitments on policy for energy? And from what you heard yesterday, are you encouraged by, the position that both governments are taking?
I'm very encouraged because, first of all, we do know that both countries' balance sheets are stretched. Their ability to finance some of these projects, is limited. But what they can bring to the table is the political will, the ambition, but also the clarity around the regulations, some of the changes that we need. And I think the presence of the Vice President here, both Ministers of Energy, is a demonstration of both governments' commitment to ensuring that these projects, the expansion of access and electricity generation goes on. So they are both very keen, they are both very supportive, they recognize the challenge, they recognize the need, but at the end of it all, the private sector has to come to the table. What the governments can do is provide an enabling environment, and I think they are committed to doing that. The private sector then needs to come up with the funding and the finance and the partnerships that we need to make this work.
Absolutely. And then any final key takeaways? I mean, obviously you have had a chance to interact with financiers as well. What are some of the key things that you've noted going forward that obviously might need to also be addressed, but also where the opportunities lie?
I think the big takeaway is, Zambia and Zimbabwe are neighbors. We have shared challenges, but we also have shared opportunities. And I think many conversations here are around how we can take advantage of those opportunities. Somebody did say, don't let a crisis go to waste. We've got a crisis around power, shortage of power, generation capacity, transmission capacity. I think for us, both countries see this as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for investment, but an opportunity also to invite partners to come and work with us in this journey.
My name is Susuki Nasinda, Associate Director of Climate Change and Sustainability Services at 𝙘𝙨𝙨𝙚. We have been here over the last 48 hours attending the ZIMZAM Energy Projects Conference. This is a conference that brought together key stakeholders in the energy sector from Zimbabwe and Zambia to discuss the challenges and opportunities that lie in the energy sector in Zambia. As you might be aware, Zambia and Zimbabwe and the southern region in general experienced one of the worst droughts in living memory, and this has had adverse effects on electricity generation, considering that the two countries highly depend on hydropower for electricity. But this project, this particular conference, has brought together key public sector as well as private sector participants and stakeholders and consulting firms like ourselves to be able to discuss what opportunities lie ahead, what challenges are there, and how do we solve these challenges. As an energy climate finance expert myself, I was particularly intrigued about the discussions on blended finance, how the public sector can leverage on concessional financing to be able to provide and create the enabling environment, regulatory as well as policy, that is required to bring in public-private sector participation and financing in energy in the countries. The conference has been extremely good because private financiers, multilaterals such as the African Development Bank, the Ministry of Energy from Zambia as well as Zimbabwe, the regulator from Zimbabwe, and other key stakeholders such as the Zambia Development Agency, and key private players such as the Copperbelt Energy Corporation are here. And as EY, it gives us a lot of delight to be able to be in a space where our voice can be heard, where we can provide solutions that are related to climate change, sustainability, issues around environmental, social, and governance, ensuring that as Zambia scales up its green finance ambitions, a firm like ours is still able to provide advisory services, is still able to provide the much needed assurances that are required by investors regarding key issues around green finance and to avoid greenwashing. So this has been a very, very important summit for us. We have been able to interact with key stakeholders, but most importantly, to be able to listen to the voice of the Zambian and Zimbabwean governments, to the voice of private developers, to the voice of financiers. And we believe that the 2024 energy crisis in Zambia provides a great opportunity for Zambia and Zimbabwe to have a serious rethink about their current energy strategies and to build strategies that will future-proof the two countries. Like they always say, never waste a good crisis. This particular crisis has been good, and I believe that it provides a springboard upon which the two countries, but more especially Zambia, can build a stronger energy future. We remain EY, and we are there to serve you in climate as well as sustainability services. Thank you.